respond appropriately. Very similar to table topics, the excitement, and I keep saying this, the biggest memory disk that we have is here. And every time a question is put across or a table topic is thrown to you, you feel that you need to share everything. But go back to the basics of table topics. Pause before you respond. There is no hurry. A dedicated time slot is given. And as an interviewer, I expect you to present a response in a manner which suits the question being asked. We'll get into details of how you can respond with some examples covering all of these. What is critical, however, as compared to table topics, while you can twist the topic, you can bring in some elements of non-related aspects. But here at the interview, you need to be specific and very objective. It's easy to say, I have done a lot of things, right? In quotes, the lot doesn't make any difference. What interviewers would like to know is, what is that lot? Is it 10 on 10? Is it 8 on 10? Is it 7 on 10? The more specific you are, it gets easier for you to get a tick mark closer to being hired. You need to make sure that even if you're a part of a team, even a small contribution you made, how has that contribution helped? Make sure when you're responding, you talk about your contributions effectively. I have been a part of multiple interviews, and I can tell you something which raises the red flag is when people start talking in, we achieved this, our team did this, everything is fine. But you, as an individual contributor, would have made a dent. What is that dent? And I would like to know that. It's not about a big impact, but even if that's a small impact, what is it? I'll just take an example. There are testers, there are production specialists, there are business analysts. Everyone plays a role. Now, if a software has to achieve its goal, all players in the chain must ensure that the tick box is checked. And that is where stating explicitly every contribution you made in a quantifiable manner makes a lot of difference. And as I said, when we have something to share, the memory comes back and there's so much to share. But again, go back to table topics. The time that we look at for every question is not more than 2 minutes. If there is a need for me to ask more questions or follow up on what you mentioned, I will ask. But when I ask you a question, I expect the response to be up to a max of 2 minutes, not more. Because when you start elaborating, it becomes a tall tale, to be very honest, right? If you become very specific, it's very clear. The question is A, your response is based on A. And please, please, please make sure that your responses are positive. We have had instances where managers may have not supported us. We would have instances where targets may have not been achieved. That's perfectly fine. Instead of blaming, share what lessons you learned. And that's the positive way in which you, as a candidate, can present yourself as one of the better candidates. All things remaining equal, when we do comparison, we look at, will this person be a positive add to my culture? Will this person bring in positivity or negativity? And if I hear, uh, I'm sure you've heard this, it may be cliched at times, but people leave managers, and managers are the biggest, I would say, content for every stand-up comedian or for anyone who wants to make their life easy. Put the blame on manager. But please remember, you have a role to play. It's important for you to make sure that as far as possible, get away from that and say that things are not working out. That's perfectly fine. But never get into a mode of blaming or talking negatively about your company, your manager, or your team members. And this is critical. Unlike in table topics, while you follow the clock, here I would suggest you look at non-verbal cues that you get from the interviewer. Are they nodding? Are they aligned to what you're saying? Are they getting distracted? Many a times, I'm sure you would have seen the interviewers come with a mobile phone. If you're not able to capture the attention and make the interviewer look at you, You need to make sure that you get that, and that is what will make you a real star. And when we think of real stars, what do you need? You need a story. And when you have a story, you need to have star. But the challenge, like every place, is that there are multi-starers, right? Movies like Shan, which have so many film stars, that it becomes difficult to identify who is the actual star. But when I talk about star, this is a response technique for any question that is asked during an interview. And these are specifics. It's not just about tell me about yourself. It's specific questions. So don't get carried away by saying that when someone asks me for tell me about yourself, I will think about star. So star is a technique which is used across the globe, and it works. Why? Because it talks about what was the situation, what's the task that you undertook, what is the action, and what was the end outcome, right? Situation, task, action, and the outcome or the result. And I'm sure you would be wondering, how can I look at it? So let's look at how do we move from Shan to Shandar? Because when you are Shandar, you are the one who's the superstar of the movie. Situation. Pay attention very closely. It's a clear description of a situation at work or Toastmasters. Many a times, especially when it comes to leadership, many of us may not have experiences as a leader in the organization. And you may have applied for a leadership position, and there is a question which comes up saying, tell me about your leadership experiences. That is where you can talk about Toastmasters. However, if you have a role which is specific and you have leadership experience, you can talk about that. Unless specifically asked, you could use any situation, but it needs to be something which can be clearly explained in a short duration of time. And the second step is the most critical. What is the goal that you were trying to achieve? That's the task you had embarked on. Let's say uh, currently we are at a situation where we've just finished October and we may be looking at adding new clubs or getting new membership. That's a task which you have taken up. And that's the goal. X numbers, right? X percentage growth, whatever it is. You know very clearly what is it that you are looking forward to. Then you get down to talking about what are the steps taken to solve the challenge, the problem, the issue. It could include, for example, since we spoke about membership building and club building, if it is club building, one, reach out to corporates. Second, talk to HR heads. Three, reach out to HR forums. Five, connect with people who are associated with HR. So you identified some of the steps, but make sure whatever you speak as action, it needs to have you as the star in it, right? Because you're talking about your experience. Collectively, yes, there may be instances where the team has achieved, but I have not contributed anything. That is also possible. But what I am looking at as an interviewer is where you were part of the solution and what steps specifically you have taken and your contribution within the timeline. I'm sure the CGD would be looking at this and saying, yeah, club to building is good. Sanjan will attest to it. But if it happens in the next year, is saal mein fayda nahi hoga. Ankat is also here, right? Everyone wants to do it because there is a fixed time duration. At work, at Toastmasters, everywhere you go, there is a time frame within which we are expected to deliver. And please remember, please, while it may sound a bit too harsh, but efforts, honestly, do not really matter in corporate. When you're in a when you're in a corporate world, you need to show outcomes. If you don't show outcomes, it doesn't. कौन है भाई? So if you don't show outcomes, then it doesn't really matter. While yes, people will appreciate you for contributing, but end goal is it needs to be achieved. Imagine you're a salesperson, you're the top salesperson. You met 1000 people, you got leads, everything is there, warm, hot, एकदम hottest, super hot, सब हो गया, लेकिन conversion नहीं हुआ. What happens? It impacts your performance. It impacts company's performance. It impacts your payouts, it impacts your bonuses, it impacts everyone in the organization. So please remember, the time frame is most critical when you talk about action. And then, what was the goal? Please remember, there are three states. One is either achieved, overachieved, or not achieved. It's okay. Sometimes there may be situations where we don't achieve it. But that is also a leadership lesson for us. It tells us what are the areas where we went wrong, what is it that we can learn from it, and how we can ensure that we avoid doing that repeatedly. So let's look at what we can do. Everything needs to be quantifiable, right? It's not a Hindi movie. तुम मुझसे कितना प्यार करते हो? मैं तुमसे बहुत प्यार करता हूँ. कितना बहुत प्यार. बहुत बहुत बहुत. You can stretch your hand, but that doesn't make a difference, right? The question that an interviewer will ask probably is, on a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you love me? And you have to be very specific. It needs to be, sir, I would say it is about 5 now, but once we start working, it can go up to 8, 9, 10, depending on how the relationship works out. Jokes apart, things which can be quantified gives you not just a foot in the door, but also makes you one of the top candidates. If you are on LinkedIn and you have a profile, you will see based on certain parameters, words, and quantifiable insights that you have provided, on certain job postings, you will see that you are amongst the top 1%, 5%, 10%, 30% candidates. Where does these insight come in from? It comes in from whatever you have mentioned quantifiably. There is an algorithm that picks it up. So let's understand. If you're asked a question, share a time when you had to adapt to a team member's working style. And that's when we start staring, right? Now, just look at the audience here today, the participants in this group. We all have different leadership styles. We have different communication styles. Our work styles are different. And we are all put together in a team to say, go manage expressions. Now, how do we work together to make sure that if Libby is very aggressive and says, नहीं होना चाहिए, and she's like every 5 minutes में, हुआ क्या, and then there is Sanjan who's saying, अच्छा ठीक है यार कर ले, मैं शाम को check कर लूँगा. Different profiles, different styles, but it's important that you move out of that mode and get into that E. That E is something which I'll share at the end of this situation. You can take, for example, and I took the liberty of using a conference example. This is semi-real. Okay, semi-real means characters are fictional. Some portions have been modified so that it doesn't reveal the character of who it was on the other side. But this is something which happened. I was assigned to work on a conference with a member from another location virtually. Now you look at multiple challenges. It's a location which is different, working virtually, not aligned to the way in which we want to operate, right? What was our task? And this is where the challenge comes in. Our task was to manage the entire event remotely. After initial meetings, I noticed differences in how she and I approach work. I tend to focus on the big picture, process, and I am somewhat rigid, saying ऐसा मतलब ऐसा, policy में लिखा है तो नहीं होगा, नहीं करना है मतलब नहीं करना है. And she was detail oriented, saying creative, let's go with the flow, chill kind of a mindset. Now imagine two different personalities, one in the north, one in the south, right? How do we align to give an experience to the members in the conference? So what we did is, knowing well that if we both work on the same thing, it will not achieve the end goals. We decided to split the work based on our strengths. I focused on structure, flow, procedures, because that's something which I felt was my skill set. And she worked on granular steps, including public relations, branding, creating videos for outreach. Now, what happened with this approach is, while there were two distinct personalities, we were able to create work which was meaningful for both. And both of us could actually complement each other. Instead of competing, it became what I would call as co-creation. And then the outcome, we were set a day before the deadline with minimal reiterations from the event convener. It means that we were able to achieve the goals that we were anticipated to expect. While I've not mentioned the actual timelines, I was expected to do it 1 week before, but we achieved it a day before. Still okay, but not the best, right? Now, this is where the E comes in. And that is what I am looking for. While you have told me about the star, the situation, the task, the action, and the result, what did the experience teach you? Right? This is what I am looking for. And this is something which I would want to understand from you when you were in that situation, when you managed that task, when you acted on it, and there was an outcome. What did that experience teach you, and how are you going to bring it back to the organization? Very simple, very easy. Star E. The experience is what makes you the superstar that people will definitely want to stare in a positive manner. So I was just thinking, we all have been a part of Toastmasters and we've been asked this question, यार इसको live कैसे use कर सकते हैं? Isn't it? We've been asked this question thousands of times. I'm sure. Where will you apply this? एक example दे दो यार. And when we go to corporate, especially when we are trying to build clubs, this is the first question saying real life experience दे दो. So let me tell you, it's all about storytelling. And storytelling requires preparation. Whether you like it or not, it's all about preparing well in hand. There are standard structure questions which are asked most of the time, except for functional and technical questions. Most of these are related to things which you may have achieved or you have done in your journey. So, what's important for you is to make sure that you have stories which you can use repeatedly based on the situation. So these are some of the golden rules which I take from Toastmasters, which we can apply. Please remember the 3 Ps: prepare, practice, and present. You need to prepare well. Yes, you are the master of your destiny. You know what you've done, but you cannot go unprepared for an interview. Going unprepared for an interview is the worst that you can do. Because the expectation is if I ask you a question and I tell you in 10 words or less, tell me what is the one thing which you're proud of, you should be able to present that. This is just a sample question that I asked. I'm sure some of you would be thinking 10 words bahut kam hai. Yeah, you may be put into such situations, or sometimes you're asked, give me one word to tell me about your leadership style, right? These are expectations from the interviewer because they want to test how alert you are, how prepared you are, and they don't want, sorry to use this word, but someone who can just take it in and vomit it out like an examination. No, they need an experiential share. They need to understand how you have achieved what you said you achieved. So let's see how we can prepare. What do you need to prepare? Anything. First and foremost, it's like your speech. You need to have an opening, you need to have a body, and most important, you need to conclude. Now use this with the star E response, right? The conclusion is the E, where you summarize what you learned and what you take back. The opening and body could be the situation, task, analysis, actions taken, results. Everything can come into that. But it's not your international speech contest. So you don't need to have a wow opening. It cannot start one fine night in Africa. They are not expecting that. So please remember there is a big difference between contest and reality. So use that effectively. When I say opening, it means how do you start your response effectively? The biggest challenge that we all have, as I said, because we have so much of memory here, is creating the outline. And let me tell you something which has worked for me repeatedly. You can create an Excel sheet. Okay. You can tag it saying leadership lesson. What is the scenario or what is the story that you want to share? What are the lessons? Trust me, you create it, keep building on it. Every time you go out for an interview, for not just a job, for anything, any role for that matter, you look at the sheet and you will just reinforce what you've learned. The advantage is you have a documented format for all of this. Please, 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 if you need to show impact, you need to talk about numbers and statistics, right? Let's be honest. कोई पूछता है कि खाना बनाने आता है तो एवरीवन सेज यस. देन द नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन इज कितने साल से बना रहे हो, क्या क्या बनाने आता है. These are numbers and statistics which really give me a sense that you can really cook. And we are not talking about cooking stories, but we are talking about actual cooking, which means that I need to understand, can you make Indian, North Indian, Korean, South Korean, whatever it is. Those are the numbers that will help me. And most important, the outline should always have what is the solution that you were aiming for. If you win, you get gold medal. But if you don't win, what is the lesson you're taking back? Right? What are the corrective actions? All of these come into the outline. People have asked me, it's very difficult to practice when you want to, go for interviews. Earlier, we used to have Yodlee as a companion, and I can tell you, I have used Yodlee for multiple practice sessions where I wanted to get a sense of how am I doing? Is this right? Is this wrong? It gives you a relatively unbiased parameter. But in the absence of Yodlee or any tool, you can practice it alone. You can record it, watch your recording, go back. In the good old days, I used to record it on YouTube and then play and check if it is working. Now we have phones which have the capability, so you can record on phone, watch it at your convenience, and analyze. But it's not enough to have self feedback. We all know it, right? One of the reasons why we look at Toastmasters positively is the reason that we get feedback. So I would suggest, think about friends who can help you. If you have friends, superb. Ask them for help. Just give them parameters that you want to be assessed on. It need not be a Toastmaster style evaluation. You need to tell them, मैंने ये response दिया है. How do you think I fared? If you are the interviewer, will you give me the job? Just give them these two things, right? And at times, while many of us may not be comfortable, you could leverage your mentors if you have. Talk to the mentors. I can't take the name because I didn't take permission of this person before the session. This person records and sends videos to me, and they come back and say, Brilliant, I know this did not work, but I want you to give me feedback on this particular part and how do I work. So this person sends me both video as well as their text script asking me how they can improve. Now, this is a good way, right? It's a relationship, end of the day. They they are very clear about what they need, and I am very clear about what I have to do. Otherwise, what I will do, I will start from the start. Now I know that I have to focus on the specific aspect. Please remember, everything is a story. So how do you organize your speech? Now, this is very similar to what we learned in the traditional manner, organizing your speech. It's about framing your story. There are multiple elements. One is thinking about the story, then is framing the story, and the last is delivering the story. Your outline story has to be very clear. Some people want to write it out every detail by detail. My suggestion is use bullet points so that you don't get stuck. You know what you need to talk. There are some people who are not very comfortable with bullet points. I would still suggest keep it as short as possible, because the more you try to memorize it, it becomes difficult, because if you forget something, then you go blank. And it's natural for everyone to go blank when you miss out on one or two words, and then you will like, bhoola, ab kya bolu main? And when you're creating an outline story, think about how you want to do it. Do you want to do a chronological event saying this is what happened, past, present, future? Or do a comparison saying, okay, this is what we wanted to do, this is what were the challenges, and this is how it worked out? Or focus on the problem solving approach. Depending on the response, depending on the type of question being asked, be very clear about what kind of an outline story you wish to present. And please remember, while we get laughs at Toastmasters for humorous speeches, in ISC people get wowed by what we share, the messaging needs to be very clear. It's what we call as make sure that you get to the point. Simple, right? Diwali is just over, so I don't want chakli. I want something which is straight. People get into the mode of chakli by going round and round in circles, and very soon there will be Holi coming in, so they will make jalebis. We are not looking at that. We are looking at clear end-to-end expectations and what is it that you want to communicate. What are the supporting material that you can bring to the table? Supporting material is not PPTs, it's not audio visuals, but elements which include statistics, facts, and anecdotes. Now, these are the things that you need to bring in. And very similar to what we always say, finish strong. Make sure your conclusion talks about experiences and lessons. It needs to be positive, it needs to reinforce, and it needs to summarize. I don't know what's happening, but someone's shooting arrows. But yeah, I'm tempted to sing a song. Chalao nanne no se baan re. So we move on. Now, once you've made the story, it's about delivering. Right? Delivery is the most important aspect for a Toastmaster across. It doesn't matter how good a story was. If it is not told effectively, it doesn't get sold effectively. Right? If you need to sell, you need to tell and tell in a powerful and an impactful manner. Use the right words. Again, while grammarian may be looking at use of the right words, I am not talking about Tharurian English. I am talking about simple words and sentences which everyone can comprehend. Please remember, whenever you're facing an interview, whether it's for a job or anywhere else, people come with different backgrounds. And there may be instances where if you use a tough word, the person may have challenge in understanding what you're saying. So you need to bring in elements which make the people say, Acha, haan, ye aisa tha. Simple. Keep it simple. And as I said, if you use bullet points for your structures, it becomes easy. Rather than remembering word by word, sentence by sentence, you know what are the key elements to be spoken about. Use the right words. Keep it as simple as you can. And let me tell you, unlike at Toastmasters, there are no R's and Ums counted during an interview. If you need to take a pause, please take a pause. If you have to enhance and emphasize on the ideas that you're presenting, use vivid imagery. Right? Now, normally we tend to hype it up, but don't hype it up too much because this is not a contest, but still making the person visualize what situation was helps. And at all points of time, please avoid jargon and unnecessary word. It will not help you. You may feel on top of the world by saying that Aaj maine to aisa must I can do this, but sorry, it doesn't cut through. And you need to show that you're interested. Make sure that you have eye contact. This is the golden rule for interviews. Yes, people find it difficult to look people in the eye, and I have said this earlier. If you've attended the session, if you're not comfortable looking at the eye, look at the forehead slightly above. It gives you comfort. It also gives the other person a feeling that you're looking at it. Have facial expressions. You cannot have a stone cold poker faced expression when you're talking about it. As an interviewer, I will have a poker face because I don't want to give you that response or indication that I'm liking your response. But as an interviewee, I need to see that. And wherever possible and appropriate, use gestures because that tells us that you are able to express yourself. And please remember, while interview is all about impressions, and impressing people, if you are able to express yourself effectively, impression is automatically made. So don't focus too much about impression. Focus on expression, making sure that you have everything set what you want to say. Practice it as much as possible. And I'm sure you all been in this situation, right? If I am Amitabh Bachchan, चलिए हमारा आप खेलते हैं कौन बनेगा इस इंटरव्यू का हीरो। आप यहाँ क्या कर रहे हैं? ऑप्शन ए, संजन ने बोला जाने को। ऑप्शन बी, बाकी सब जा रहे थे। ऑप्शन सी, लिब्बी ने धमकी दी थी। डी, फीस भरा है तो पैसे वसूल कर रहे हैं। हाउ वी विश interview questions were as simple as 4 options, isn't it? Now each one will have a different response, and I'm sure some of you will say इसमें से दो तीन भी सही है, but you have to choose one, and not every time you will get that opportunity to make an impact. So what I've tried to do is capture a select set of questions, and these are traditional questions. I'll tell you how the responses could be and what is it that I as an interviewer would look for. And this is purely based on the interview style. I'm sure you have faced this question multiple times. Tell me about yourself, isn't it? Have you? नहीं? तो आज पूछते हैं. If you are asked, tell me about yourself, and imagine you are asked this question. बताइए, अपने बारे में कुछ बताइए.
दीनानाथ जॉन, पूरा नाम. बाप का नाम दीनानाथ जॉन, माँ का नाम सुहासिनी जॉन, गांव मांडवा.
Now, is this the response I am looking for? The answer is obviously no. Because this is already there in your resume, CV, format, profile, whatever document you have sent to me. What is it that I'm looking for is something beyond the CV, which will help me understand who you are as a person. What do you do in your current role? Most important. If you're a fresher, it will not apply, but I'm assuming this as a fresher, you may have done some internship or some projects, you could use that as well. How have you as a contributor impacted outcomes? And what is it that has been your most significant achievement? This is where the storytelling part comes in. So for example, I'll say, I'm brilliant. I work as Chief People Officer at Times Pro. I am responsible for ensuring that there are no talent gaps in the organization. And I am stoked with the responsibility of making sure that the company achieves profitability, right? I have spoken about 1 and 2. What is your most significant achievement is where I will talk about the story, one particular story that I pick from the hundreds of stories that I may have based on the interview. You should have multiple stories. Please remember that. It's like, international speech contest. You need to change your speech. Very similarly, you need to have multiple stories. And it is possible that you may have an instance where you did not succeed. That is also okay. And this applies specifically when people come with work gaps, right? There are many times where people, for some reason or the other, have to move out of a job and are not in an active job for some time. This is where you can talk about what is it that you did during that period of gap. Why did you take that gap? It is not negative. It is considered positive. Okay. So please remember, tell me about yourself is not wanting to replicate what's there on the resume, but what are we looking for? If you were to be crowned as the best table topic speaker, what would I look for? What is the value that you bring to this specific role? And again, this specific role is critical. It's your 60-second professional story, right? 60 seconds extends to about 90 seconds. But if you go on and on and on like Duracell batteries, it will not help. And there have been instances where people just don't stop and we have to cut them short and say, भाई ये सब तो लिखा है CV में, आगे बताओ. then you have to get into specifics. So make sure that it's a 60 to 90-second professional story, very similar to table topics. And it makes a lot of relevance for us as Toastmasters because we are used to practicing this every single time a topic is thrown to us, 60 to 90 seconds. Connect your past success to the current role. And again, success is just being used. It could be a failure if you bring lessons. I am also looking at people who are aligned to the organization, who are willing to change and grow. It needs to be a concise and a compelling narrative. So if I ask anyone, tell me about yourself, you should have at least 3 to 4 different responses that you can talk based on the kind of the job role that you're looking for. If it's an individual contributor role, you should have something. If it's a managerial role, you should have something. If it's a collaborative role, you should have something. So, jaisa des, vaisa bhes. Make sure that you prepare yourself for that, right? And please remember, wherever practical, past, present, and future is what we compare. What is it that you did in the past? What's your current role? And how is it impacting the future? Very similar to table topics. We as interviewers are looking for PPF, not Public Provident Fund, but past, present, and future. Just hold on. There's someone at the doors. Just give me a moment. हाँ. Yes. Yeah. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. Extremely sorry. Everyone else is asleep, so had to go there. So someone rang the bell and asked, why should I hire you? What would you say?
तुम लोग मुझे ढूंढ रहे हो और मैं तुम्हारा
Yeah,
यहाँ
yeah.
इंतजार कर रहा हूँ.
We are not looking at arrogance. We are not looking at saying ki, yaar, I am the best fit for the role. Yes, you may be, but what is it that we should look for you? I'm actually checking, does what you present in your CV, what you say, and what we need align? Do you have a proven track record? Just by saying that you can do it doesn't help. Is there a direct skill match? I'm looking for a batsman. And if a goalkeeper comes for an interview, what happens? The sports person spirit, the never say die attitude, keep fighting attitude, everything is there. But the problem is the skills don't match directly. He or she or they are a goalkeeper, and I am looking for a batsman. What is it that differentiates you? Now, as I said, everything else remaining constant, what is it that one thing that will make you stand out as a candidate? That needs to come out very clearly. These are, I would say, behavioral elements which help us understand, will you as a candidate be a fit into the team? Because I know my team as an interviewer. I know what kind of people exist, right? Just imagine you're interviewing someone, and if Vijay comes in and says, मैं यहाँ तुम्हारा इंतजार कर रहा हूँ, the attitude itself seems to be wrong. Your team is grounded. They are people who will always be respectful. And this person comes with arrogance. Do you think it's a cultural fit? Probably not. But again, there are different opinions to it. There are some managers who say, yaar, meri team is always on Namaste, JSK mode, and I need someone who can disrupt. So I need to bring Vijay. So that's where opinions also matter. The requirements of the company matters. And hence, understanding why is most critical. Are you focused only on the short term, or are you lambi race ka ghoda? Most organizations will prefer a lambi race ka ghoda over a short-term goal. And what are we looking for? I mentioned this, right? How I can take back learnings from your past, current to the future, linking the outcomes, making sure that you bring specific solutions for our needs. It's not based on a footballer coming and saying, I can change everything. No. If I need a batsman, I need a batsman. But yes, if I am putting together a different team and I'm trying to create something very unique, then probably a footballer will fit in. That is the uniqueness. You need to talk about anecdotes, both about success and, if possible, learnings. These days, people look at candidates who are risk takers. We need to understand that given an opportunity, and I'm just taking names based on the people that I can see, is if I hire Uma, will she be able to take a risk and fail fast? Or will she just say, जो लिखा है वैसा ही करेंगे? Right? So I also need to assess that. So please make sure you blend and have opportunities for sharing based on the stories that you create. Why are you looking for a change? You've been asked 1,000 times if you've interviewed, and I am sure none of you would have said,
परंपरा, प्रतिष्ठा, अनुशासन.
no one says that, right? Everyone knows in reality it's about your true intent. There are people at a junior level who openly tell us that it's money that is a motivator and they need it for a certain reason. That's fine. But if I know the intent and I know that you're not going to jump ship, then it's easier. If you are at a mid level or a senior level, I am looking at a larger challenge. So, for example, if you're operating in India as a geography, you can say, I want to expand the scope to global. Or if you're working in HR in one function and you want to delve deeper, you could say, currently I am managing everything. I want to specialize in a particular area. So either deep or broader. The simplest answer that most people should mention is the limited growth in the current role. And it happens at at stages of 2 years, 5 years, 10 years. And this is not a structure, but generally it happens because those are the times when you start having questions about what's happening with me, market mein kya ho raha hai, you've not been out in the market, right? And you, for example, been in that role for 20 years in the company, but you still want to move out. They'll say, अरे सब कुछ तो settled है, क्यों जाना चाहते हो? You could say that my company is not innovated for a long time, and I want to think about how I can participate in being an innovator and look at purpose-driven work. Now, why is this question important? Because it gives me a sense of what your intent is. Now, similar question for people who have left their jobs or currently do not have an active job. Why did you leave your company, last company?
इतना पैसा में घर नहीं चलता, साला ईमान कैसे चलेगा हैं?
Being honest is good, but you need to be very careful about how you present it. You need to dig deeper rather than just be superficial. We all know that these days, layouts, restructuring, organizational changes are natural. It happens. It's not negative. But can you dig deeper? अगर 100 लोग थे, उस 100 में से तुमको अगर जाना पड़ा तो why? So it could be your choice or a company's choice, but you need to have a response for it. You can say that you were looking for a specialized focus. There are people, I remember in one of the organizations that I worked for, a young man came up to me and said, I just want to leave this organization. I said, why? He said, no, the people that exist here do not think the way I think. And I think I will bring down my level of thinking. And I was shocked at that response. But that's the truth, isn't it? Sometimes if you fly low, you will continue to fly low and you will probably lose the power to fly high. So that is also important for us to know. You can also talk about you wanted to move from a small organization to a large organization. You had ambitions, but the company did not have plans. Plus, there was restructuring. Any of this could come in. And sometimes it could be a new industry. But why are these important? We are looking at, are you a fan? And not an actual fan, but forward looking. Is there growth orientation in you, or are you thinking just stability? कि यार 9 से 5 काम करना है, पगार लेना है, continue. Morning wake up, drink coffee, get dressed, go to office, work, log out, come back, eat, sleep, repeat. We don't look at that. We want to understand if there is forward orientation. Do you have ambition and aspirations in you? And critical, is there a clear career narrative, right? मुझे ये करना है मेरे life में. I want to be here. I'm not getting that, so I want to take a break, probably upskill myself, whatever it is. But please, I reiterate, nothing negative about your current role if you're active there, or your past role if you've already moved out. Again, very tricky questions. Very, very tricky question. Slightly twisted from what are your weaknesses. So if you're asked, I'm sure no one wants
I
to
can walk
respond.
English, I can laugh English because English is a very funny language.
This is not what I'm expecting, because that I already know. I want to understand, are you purely execution based? Are you strategic? Are you result oriented? Can you be that bridge for me? I need someone who's strategic in nature. I need someone who's an executioner. I need result orientations in both, and I need a bridge. Can you solve problems for me? Do you come with problems, or do you bring solutions? Now, these are elements which help me understand you as a personality. I don't want to understand that you can work hard, you can work in ambiguity. वो तो सबको करना पड़ता है. Everyone needs to do it. And as a part of Toastmasters, we've learned to, we've experienced that so much that it's become natural for us to work in ambiguity today. Suddenly your speaker backs out. Suddenly the evaluator says, मैं नहीं आ सकता. The general evaluator is not to be found. The timer is not able to find the timer card. So you think on the spot, you solve problems. We do it. Most critical is, do you really have a business acumen? We're not looking for more than anything else. Business acumen is critical because that's what makes a difference from all the other candidates that exist. For you to be hired, you need to showcase agility and learnability. Agility is the ability to change rapidly, and learnability is the skill to learn things quickly. Both in today's environment is important. With AI coming in, there are a lot of things which will get redundant. Will you master AI and be a champ, or will you stay stuck? That's the question. And what we want to know is, what is your strength? How specific capabilities will deliver tangible outcomes for me? A brief example of how you have impacted based on your strength. Similar question. What is your leadership style?
मुझे जो सही लगता है मैं करता हूं, वो चाहे भगवान के खिलाफ हो, समाज के खिलाफ हो, पुलिस कानून या फिर पूरे सिस्टम के खिलाफ.
As Toastmasters, we are not able to do that because there is a parameter that we have to follow, plus we follow the IRSE guidelines. So we adhere to it. I'm not looking for this. What I mean is, do you bring people management skills? Can you coach and empower team? Are you a collaborator? Are you data driven? Most important is, do you lead with authenticity? You may have any kind of a style of leadership, that's perfectly fine, but you need to have authenticity. एक बार जो मैंने कमिटमेंट कर दी तो मैं अपने आप की भी नहीं सुनता, नहीं चलेगा. Because as a leader, you have to be flexible. You need to have situational leadership. What we are looking at is, do you have adaptability? Are you able to develop the team that works with you? And most important, can you empower people? Because alone we can do so little, but together we can do so much. We've heard this from Helen Keller's quote. This is what a leader does. How you drive accountability. I don't want to do it all alone. I need a team. I need to make sure that everyone adheres to it. And the most important question that comes is, tell me something that's not on your resume. And I'm sure you don't want to say this.
हम भी वो हैं जो कभी किसी के पीछे नहीं खड़े होते, जहाँ खड़े हो जाते हैं लाइन वहीं से शुरू होती है.
What are we looking at? We are looking at creativity, decision making. Do you have skills as a mentor, whether it is art, science, anything? What is your hobby? What is your passion? Why are these important? Is because it helps me understand you as a person, not just as a resume or not what you have mentioned. So there are people, and I'll tell you, there is a research which has been released. It's not yet public yet, but I've got a beta version of it, which says that people who run marathons and practice every single day are definite hires in organization. You know why? One, because they have passion, they have commitment, and three, they never give up. Three typical qualities that every organization will look for. But we cannot really use that as an example and say कि यार ये रनर है, चलो इसको मैं इंजीनियर बना देता हूँ. नहीं हो सकता. You have to be very clear how it aligns. So what are we probing? We're probing your character, your drive, your intellectual curiosity, nothing else. And most important, are you motivated, self-motivated? And can you really bring that passion to the table? These are the elements which gives a sense based on the question that is asked. Many a times you're asked, what is your work ethic? And we are at loss for words. क्या बोलना है? अभी work ethic तो बहुत कुछ हो सकता है, right?
मैं आज भी फेंके हुए पैसे नहीं उठाता.
Now this is a powerful statement. What does it indicate? It looks at cultural fitment, saying कि yeah, wow, this is a person who has integrity, knows what is right, what is wrong, takes ownership, and is focused on growth, doesn't take things as is, wants to challenge status quo, is solution focused. Now, some of these will help you. And don't just make that statement, build a story around it. That's what we look for. And why is it important? Because as I said, it's all about the ownership, accountability, and responsibility that you bring to the table. Every single time, it's quality versus quantity. I have to look at the balance. Can you really balance it out effectively? Now, this 5 years is reduced to 3 years, 2 years, 1 year, 3 months, depending upon the agility of the organization.
दौलत का सुनहरा सूरज चमक रहा है जो मुझे बुला रहा है. यूं समझ लो कल्लू से कालिया का सफर शुरू हो गया.
Aspiration, ambition, long term. You want to be a subject matter expert. You want to mentor and grow. You want to drive strategic initiatives. You want to evolve with the company's vision. These are some of the responses that you could give. But what is it that we are looking for? We want to see that aag in you, right? Do you have the ambition? Is that aligned to my organization values and goals? And do you have focus on growth? If you have that, then yes. The last question, very tricky question. People are asked, what are your salary expectations? And unfortunately, people say this, right? You open your mouth, it says you're money motivated. You could be, but give a response saying that I'm flexible based on what the total package is. There is something that I have in mind, but let's come to the table and discuss. You need to say that you want to have a competitive and a fair compensation. If you're pushed, you can say that, yes, while there are minimum requirements, I am open to a performance-oriented outcomes as well, a total target remuneration. And keep it open for discussion. Never state your end expectations right away. Keep scope for negotiation at all times. What is it what you're looking for? Are you flexible enough? Are you aware of your value or worth in the market? And most important, have you researched the range? Today, there are so many data points that are available. You put it on ChatGPT, DeepSeek, Gemini, you will get an average industry rate. But please be specific. You get a response based on the prompt that you give. Make sure you give the relevant prompt. Otherwise, it will say for a business analyst, the salary range is 50 lakhs to 60 lakhs. and then you go and say, I expect this, they'll say, अरे भाई तेरे पास तो 2 साल का भी experience नहीं है. Right? So make sure that the context is right. Every organization will have a limit and they will say, इतना पैसा में इतना ही मिलेगा. That's the whole truth. But it's all about how effectively you can present yourself. So when you present yourself as a candidate, what is it that we want to know? Can you do the job? Most important, through your stories that you shared. Do you have the skills, knowledge, experience, background, intelligence, capability, competency? We can put everything in. These stories tell me, yes, you can. It's a question, rhetorical. You will do the job, right? Is there interest? Is there motivation? Now, some elements, if you see, are you punctual? Now, punctuality is something which thankfully or unfortunately COVID has taken away from most of the people. But it's a very important and critical role. And how your goal aligns with the opportunity that we have. The golden thing that we look for in the Venn diagram is, will you really fit in? Do you bring the mindset of people in my company? Are you a team player? Will you be flexible? Will you disrupt or will you build? Sometimes disruption is good, but what's critical for the organization at that point of time is the kind of person you are. So remember, it really doesn't matter. Every response that you say, every story that you tell should have can, will, and do as the attitude in it. If you can bring that in as the essence of the stories that you tell, you can sell yourself as the best candidate. But please remember, practice beyond the CV, focus on your contribution, write about your learnings and lessons. And to stay ready, make sure that you understand what you've written in your CV. You should have stories for every aspect. There is a CV interview. Everything that you've written on the CV is the only thing that is asked, nothing outside. So do you have stories for each of that? And remember the golden rule, from a reel to a movie to a web series, 30 seconds to 3 hours to 13 episodes. Your stories should be flexible depending on how the interviewer takes that question, dissects it, has follow-ups. You should be able to speak about it. So from 30 seconds to 30 hours, you should have stories and contents about your personal experiences that can help the organization. I know it's been a long night on a Friday when everyone else chose to party. You decided to learn on Children's Day. So thank you so much. It really means a lot to me. It helps not just me, but also each one of you who participated here today to get a sense of how can we collectively make sure that we pass on these learnings to others. While some of you may have kids, some of you have interviews to be planned, lessons from here can be helpful. And if you ever find anything of value, please do share with me. And if you ask me what's my expectation out of this in terms of compensation, I'll say 7 crore. Thank you. And over to you, Libby. If there are any questions, please let me know. Happy to take them. You're speaking? Can't hear.
No, I'm not speaking. I was just checking if there are any questions. The floor is open. If anybody has a question, please do raise your hands.
They were expecting the dance floor, but this is a different floor. It's good to see Ankit, Sanjan. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Brilliant. Brilliant. I had a question, but before that, thank you so much for taking this session. And I really wanted to attend this, given that you are a subject matter expert in this field, and got a lot of good learnings and points to look forward to.
Thank you so much.
One question, Brilliant, I had was, so I've been on both the sides, but how can we be authentic? Like our stories sound natural and authentic rather than scripted or rehearsed, given that we need to practice the stories, but how do you feel as an interviewee we can be authentic so that the interviewer doesn't understand it, that it's scripted?
Thank you, Ankit. And that's a very good question. As I mentioned earlier, if you keep talking only about success, that tends to put people off, right? Or we say कि यार मैंने ना पहाड़ खोद के मांझी के जैसा रास्ता बना दिया. I'm not looking for that. I am looking for genuine responses. Uh, I can tell this because I've been interviewing for a very long time. So now, based on the first 2 or 3 responses, I can make out whether this person will go beyond the 15 minutes. So the rule in my company is if a person crosses that 15-minute tenure and reaches 30 minutes, it means I am interested in the candidate. And if the person is in my room for 2 hours, it means I don't want to leave the candidate, which means I am trying to sell the company to him. So what happens is when you're sharing, while yes, it may sound scripted, you need to be authentic when you talk about failures, right? Everyone will not have a good boss. Everyone will not have good peers. Everyone will not have an ecosystem which is fair. But without sounding negative, how did you overcome? So I have been asked a question, one of the organizations, where I mentioned that it was 10th of November 2008 when I drafted my resignation dated 1st January 2009. Okay, pre-planning, saying that I wanted to resign, but I wanted to ensure. And then the question asked, what happened? They were prodding me to say negative about the manager, but I did not. I said that things were not working out. What I expected versus what the organization expected were not matched and aligned. And hence I decided that I'll finish off whatever was in hand and then move on. Now, what happened in this response is I was genuine because I shared what was there, but I didn't reveal confidential information. Please remember that, Ankit, specifically at senior levels, one of the elements that we also test is if you give out information too easily and too quickly, you will not be trusted as a candidate because I will fear that if you leave from here, you may go back and share those. So to be genuine and authentic, you don't need to lie or hide. You need to be practical, but avoid confidential elements and avoid any kind of direct conflict with the current situation that you are in. That will help.
Got it. Thanks a lot, Brilliant.
Brilliant. I had a question.
Who spoke?
Libby.
Hi, Libby.
So you a lot of time you've mentioned that as an interviewer, you are looking to see if the interviewee is a fit for the organization, basically a cultural fit. Now, how do I, as an interview, figure out what is the culture of the organization, or how do I mold my answers to ensure that I fit in?
TTP. Talk to people. You need to talk to people from that organization. You may have friends. When you go on LinkedIn, see, I'll tell you, today we have a lot of information available on the net. LinkedIn is the biggest source. So you go to LinkedIn. Suppose, for example, you're interviewing with me and you want to understand what the culture is. You search for me and you will find people who are connected. Go up to 3 connections and see whom you know. And from there, get a sense of the culture. And it's not just about the culture, but also about the manager that people ask questions, saying, अच्छा ब्रिलियन के साथ आंसर करना है तो उसको किस टाइप का responses पसंद है, what kind of a person he is. So what you do is you do research and you move beyond just the standard interview process. So once you do that research, you need to invest some time. You need to invest time in understanding about the company, the role. So talk to people existing, but most important, if you have someone who's left the organization, they will give you the true picture. So it will give you a sense that everything that shines is not gold. But yeah, there is sometimes some challenges. And if you are able to overcome that, there are people who've served in the company for 20 years also. So talk to people, TTP.
Thank you. There's one question on the chat.
Ah.
How to increase the chances of my CV to get shortlisted for the interview call?
This is honestly one of the most difficult things to do. Today, unfortunately, there are so many tools that are available which will tailor the CV based on the role, right? But what happens is when we do that matching, we clearly find out that it fails. the best way to increase chances of the profile getting shortlisted is use action words, use statistics wherever possible. Because when you read that CV, I get about 30 seconds to glance through it. If I find something interesting, only then I will take it forward. Today, what happens is the moment you have a LinkedIn connection, people post their, Janam Chitta, they send me 3 pages and they expect me to read and they mention for any role as suitable. It will not sail through. So if you know, for example, Brilliant is hiring for a particular role, you can write to me and mention, Brilliant, I saw this post, you're looking for this, I feel I fit in, and I'll tell you, my attention is there. I will make sure that I read your CV and then I pass it on to my team saying, my team member is Brinda. I'll say, Brinda, this profile looks interesting. While it may not fit into this, we may want to check this, assess. This is what happens. So if you just do a BCC and send mails, it will not work. Make it very specific, address to a person. And if you know someone within the company who can help you, refer your profile, nothing like it. So if you go as a referral, the chances of the shortlisting is higher. If you are able to talk to a decision maker who can review your profile and process it further, that also helps. But other than that, changing just the format, etc., will not help. Hope I've answered your question, Asha.
Hi, this is Vijay here. I have a query.
Hello. Sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Am I audible? Hi,
Yes, you're audible.
this is Vijay here. I have a query.
Yes,
I'm just
Vijay.
wondering, like, there are some, as you mentioned, that we need to showcase our impact in terms of quantifiable manner. But many times, is it advisable that while working on certain projects and you are sharing the outcomes on your LinkedIn, something that may be objectionable by the company?
If you
Uh,
specify numbers, it will be, but if you say you helped achieve 20% higher growth, who will stop you? No one will, right? So if you look at some of the power profiles that exist, there are people who mention saying that I helped the company grow from 10 crores to 100 crores in 6 months, because those are published results. But where results are not published and there is confidentiality to be mentioned, your contribution and growth, which can be substantiated by a reference check, could be mentioned. So you can say that my efforts helped in an increase in sales by X percentage. Now that percentage doesn't talk of actual numbers, it just says that you contributed. And I really don't know whether it was from 1 to 2 or 100 to 200. So that's all based on how you present the data, but it is still a statistics which can be validated with a reference. Yes, KP sir.
Good morning. We have got morning here. in
Good
Chicago.
morning to you. Yeah, we are bright and
Very, very
early.
wonderful. Text. With the advent of artificial,
Oh, we
the
lost.
interviewer, when somebody uses artificial intelligence to make his or her CV in such a way that he's bound to take, and everybody starts using artificial intelligence, where do we land up? Thanks.
Yeah, thanks, KP, for that. And I think it's important for us to understand that everything that comes in always has a counter to it. So today there are tools which will actually analyze if the CV is made based on AI. So if it's an AI generated CV, it marks it saying that while this is 60% fitment, these are the areas where it's all AI. So what it does is it gives the interviewer power in terms of insights to say, okay, Just taking a name again here, KP sent me a CV which is made by AI. Let me just test him. If the 60% fitment comes in, I will put a first interview. And during that interview is when the actual work that you did comes out, and then it determines whether you move to the next level. As I mentioned to the earlier response to Asha, if I'm right, Asha, yeah, is that today creating a CV is not difficult. You use any generative AI and say, please use these parameters. I am applying for a job, create a CV, it will create. But when you go face to face or when there is that initial screening, you are knocked off. And we are using AI to counter that. How? We have put an AI video based tool where, based on what you mentioned in your CV, interview questions are asked. It's a proctored mechanism where it tells you, for example, if my eye moves this side, it will capture how many times my eyesight moved out, how many times I swapped windows. Everything gets captured and says this person is genuine or not genuine or trying to copy. So every element that comes in as a positive and a hindrance will always have a counter. So countering AI is not difficult. We do it every single day. In fact, KP, just to share, today people have forgotten the art of resigning. They go to ChatGPT and ask them, I am planning to resign. Please draft a resignation letter to my manager, thanking everyone. And I have seen this not once, not twice, but for the last 6 to 7 months, almost 80% of the resignations are in that. So
Oh
there
my
is a
God.
counter.
Thank you so much.
Welcome, welcome. Yes, yes, Kiran, you raised your hand. गायब हो गए. Okay.
Brilliant. I think, oh, there's a Varun.
Varun,
Okay.
yes, Varun.
We take this last question from Varun.
Hello. I'm here. Sorry, I was on mute.
Yes, Varun. Hello, hello.
Who is
Hello?
speaking?
कौन
Yeah,
बोल
I'm
रहा है?
Kiran. I'm Kiran.
Hi, Kiran.
Yeah, hello. Sorry, I was on mute.
No
Yeah, so the
worries.
question is, suppose you are giving an interview and in the previous organization, you left the organization because of the toxic environment. So how to answer that question?
So you can be very tactful about it. You can say that the organizational values and your values were not in alignment, and you felt there was a mismatch, and hence you decided to move out. See, we all understand toxicity, but if you explicitly call it out, what happens is I become a bit uncomfortable with the brutal truth, right? वो बोलता है ना कड़वा सच बहुत ही ज्यादा तकलीफ देता है. So be tactful in that manner. And if you're probed too much, you can say that I can discuss this offline. But as I mentioned, the environment was not positive and I did not feel it aligned with my values. Hence, I decided to move out. I'm happy to discuss it, but nothing beyond this is what I can share with you. Just leave it at that.
Thank you.
Welcome. Varun?
Yeah, hi. I just wanted to ask, it was regarding one of your previous answers, TTP, like talk to people, like using the LinkedIn. Now, when I am working in an organization, so there have been instances, especially when what you say, people were searching jobs in the industry, in the software industry. There have been instances where a particular person, when he was trying to seek a job in our company, he was sending a LinkedIn request to many people in our organization, and then spamming messages like I'm looking for this, can you please help me out, to like not one or two, many people in the organization. Now at that point of time, we as employees, including some managers as well, didn't see it as a like a, what you say, a positive thing, because it was like it's one person, and instead of connecting just one person or one main person is spamming or sending messages to all. Now, if I want to do the same, to know about a particular organization, how to do it more gracefully?
So, Varun, you answered it by the way you asked the question, is you are not expected to spam. As I said, you need to find out people who you know can give you that input. And as I mentioned, so for example, if Libby is to interview with me and she checks, okay, I know Brilliant has connection with Ankit. She'll say, I know Ankit, let me check with Ankit. She'll have a conversation with Ankit. If you reach out to someone, let's say Sanjan doesn't know you, but you reach out to Sanjan and say, Sanjan, can I connect? You connect, and then you ask a question saying, how's the culture? Sanjan will be first shocked. Second, then he'll say, यार positive ही देना पड़ेगा क्योंकि पता चला कि ये मेरा reference check में डाल देगा. So you will not get the truth. So if you really want to get the truth, you look for network of networks. If you're not connected, you meet the person who knows him, her, or them, right? That's the best way. But if you keep spamming, if you keep sending requests to all the people here, then what happens is पता चल जाता है. And I can give you example, Varun. Thanks for asking. There was this guy who sent me a CV and a detailed brief saying, "Brilliant, sir. This is what your profile was amazing. I like this, and please see if my CV of any use." I forwarded it to my talent acquisition team. The talent acquisition team forwarded me a similar mail, which just changed the name to say, "Dear Asha, I found your profile to be very interesting." Same draft, नाम change करके सबको भेज दिया. So it happens. So we need to be able to separate the wheat from the chaff. That's important. So don't spam people unnecessarily. It's a part of a session which I do in terms of networking is never spam people to get information. You give and then you get. If you have people you connected to, get it from them and then move on. Thank you so much for that question, Varun. Meeta had raised her hand. So if Meeta is there, we'll take that question. Meeta on, off, चली गई.
Yes, I'm here only.
Hi,
I'm
hi.
listening and learning a lot of things from you. I always love to attend your session.
Thank you so much.
So I had a question regarding Toastmaster. So when we are giving the speeches, everyone gives the evaluation, and they put the chat GPT and the evaluation comes directly. And I'm not understanding that whether it is which way to give the speech. So we are not getting it from the emotions or nothing. Just the thing they'll get recorded and they'll just give a tuck 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 tuck. And where we have done, what improvement is done, nothing is there. And the person I just checked, what is this? Yesterday he was not able to speak. Today you are giving such a brilliant. I want to learn from that. Later on, I told her, she said that, no, I didn't do anything. I gave for my chat GPT. I said, I don't understand chat GPT and I'm not a chat GPT person. But why everything is going like that? So then we are not having that interest. What we are giving hard work, that doesn't comes out the real reply or anything, feedback.
Yeah, so thank you for that. It's unfortunate reality for many of us, right? We've read it thousands of times. With the advent of food apps, what's happened is people have stopped cooking. Now, is that a healthy habit to practice? The answer obviously is no. How can you avoid it is start focusing on things which is in your control. What is in your control is you identify the evaluator and tell the evaluator that I'm looking for your candid feedback. I'm not looking for a winning evaluation. So while you may have, let's say hypothetically, Vittal as your evaluator, you can assign Raj as your, secondary evaluator. You can tell Raj, give me an information bit based on these elements. Now, what you're doing is, while officially the club has assigned Vittal as your evaluator, you also get inputs from Raj. And again, no offense, Vittal. Vittal may be the one who's taken it from ChatGPT, but that's okay. That is also one way to assess, saying that ChatGPT has given you a response. You can take it in a positive way to say, oh wow, ChatGPT have gone into so much of detail. This is an area for improvement. But what Raj will do is Raj will speak from emotions. Raj will speak from what he saw. So what happens is you get best of both the worlds and you move forward. That's the only way. And unfortunately, whether we like it or not, you can't avoid the impact of ChatGPT or any kind of generative AI in everything that we do, whether it is writing a speech to table topics on a virtual table to capturing audio and giving you responses on screen as a teleprompter. Everything is possible, but it's the best use left to how human beings can manage it. End of the day, it's the human behind the AI who will make the impact, not the AI themselves.
Thank you so much. So now I don't have to worry because I
Never.
never used to get idea like where I am to have to improve, because every time the same thing will come. I've seen 2, 3 evaluation, it is coming the same. Then I have to go to other clubs and go and give in person and take the inputs from 2, 3 people. So then I'll know where I'm lacking, where is my improvement is requirement and all that. Because every time it's not I'm a superstar. I'm somewhere down also. I want to learn. So I wanted that way of thing. So
Yes,
I
we
understand.
all learn. Thank you so much for that question.
Thank you so much, Meeta. I'm really sorry. I have to. I mean, we are at almost 10:30, half an hour more than the allotted time. I know 2 people I want to ask these questions. Maybe if you could send them to Brilliant directly or put it up in chat, we can figure out a way to get you the answers for your questions. Unfortunately, we have to wrap up now, and I would like to ask our program quality director to please present this certificate to
Absolutely, Libby. And there was no one that who could do this session better than you, because you have the true spirit of Toastmasters, as well as you are leading Times Pro as a CHRO. So you understand the professional and the personal endeavors, and you knew you gave the right tips, which was so concise. I really like the LinkedIn aspect that you said. I could relate to those stories. And very rightly said, I really liked one point, and that was a good takeaway for all of y'all. That if you know someone, see, we as humans are always connected to each other. And it is said, if you want to reach someone, you need minimum 6 people to reach. And that's how we are networked. So there's always someone you may know, ask them, and then you can then give your interviews accordingly with the tips given by Brilliant. So thank you so much, distinguished Toastmaster Brilliant, for sparing Friday night and giving a very insightful session to all of the members present in the virtual space. Be rest assured, this is going to be featured also on the D98 website as well. So those who have missed it out, maybe this session will be insightful for them. And if any future Toastmaster or any member of District 98 is preparing for interviews, they will definitely use your video as a Bible.
Thank you so
Thank you
much.
so much.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. I've shared the contact details. People can get in touch. And as it is, I've mentioned my details to connect at Brilliant SK. You will find me. Happy to connect and share. Uh, it's beyond time, obviously. And tomorrow again, I have an early morning session. So we'll jump off to sleep. But happy to share any queries that you have. Send it across to me. I'll be more than happy to respond and provide responses based on my experience. Thank you once again, Libby, Sanjan, for giving me this opportunity. Thank you. Take care, everyone.
thank you
Have
guys, and see you again
On
on
the 28th of November with episode 8. Libby, you want to say who the keynote speaker is, or we'll reveal it
we'll
later?
reveal it later. It's about the topic is mentorship that matters. So do join us on 28th of November.
Please share the links. We are interested to join.
We will.
It will be circulated across the WhatsApp communications. So please remember that every alternate week we have sessions. So the next session is 28th. You can check the calendar. We have uploaded on WhatsApp.
So we are from District 92. So 98 district information will not.
Okay, so Meeta, why don't you put down your number so then
Sure.
Libby can then connect with you and circulate the information.
Thank you, everyone. Take care.
Thank you so much,
Bye.
Brilliant.
Good night. Good night.
Bye all. Have a happy weekend.
Bye.
So
Yeah.
Meeta, you can
Thank you.
drop in your number and
Thank
then
you.
we connect.
Bye.
Sanjan.
Yes,
Okay.
KP sir. How
Bye,
are you?
bye, bye. Good seeing you guys, man. Missing
So
you
when
all
are you
so
coming
much.
back to India?
I don't know. Maybe in the summers. I'm stuck here with my
Maybe you can stop
grandchildren and all.
recording.
lot of people had question today, but Libby ने धमकी दिया question नहीं पूछने का.
हाँ
वो तो धमकी देते रहते हैं